This guy has a lot of names: Peter Tredget, Peter George Dinsdale, Bruce George Peter Lee, and he liked to start fires. He had it rough as a kid. He was sick with epilepsy, brought up in children's homes, and had a spastic condition in his right limbs, and people rather cruelly called him Deaf Peter. On December 4th, 1979, a fire broke out at a house on Selby Street in Hull, the home of Edith Hastie and her 4 sons, Thomas, Charles, Paul, and Peter. Charles was able to rescue his mother by pushing her out an upstairs window, but he couldn't help his little brothers, Peter and Paul. Thomas slept in the back bedroom and managed to escape. The Hasties' 3 daughters were staying with relatives that night, and so they weren't exposed to the fire. Charles, Peter, and Paul would all die of their burn and smoke injuries. The Hasties weren't liked in the neighborhood, so police looked for somebody who might set fire to the house in some sort of vendetta over an unknown slight. In May 1980, Tredget confessed to setting the fire at the Hasties' house because Charles extorted him over some sexual contact Tredget had with him. He poured paraffin through the letterbox and set it on fire. He was also hurt because the Hasties made fun of him for liking a daughter of the family, Angelina. While he was making this confession, he surprises police with 9 more confessions. None of the fires were suspected arsons. All were recorded as accidents. 23 more people had died in those fires, ranging from infants to 11 elderly men in a residential home. Officers drove him around Hull, and he would point out the different buildings he burned. This one, that one there, this one over here. He then told police that whenever he learned that someone died in one of his fires, he wouldn't stop. He would just read the Bible for comfort. He was taken to locations of fires the police knew he didn't start, and he denied those, making police even more certain of his confessions. Now, in July 1981, Tredget pleaded guilty to 26 counts of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility and 11 counts of arson. Prosecutors accepted the plea, so there was no trial. He was sent to a hospital given his mental condition. Then there was a public inquiry into that residential home fire that killed 11 elderly men. The inquiry concluded that it was an accidental fire and not arson, that Tredget had nothing to do with it or with those 11 deaths. Tredget's convictions for those offenses get quashed. Now, he's been called Yorkshire's most prolific serial killer, but his victim count at that point had been lowered to 15. Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper, had 13 convictions. The Criminal Cases Review Commission referred a new appeal for Tredget in 2021 because of his physical disabilities. It made it difficult for him to have committed the crimes, and because he had probably falsely confessed due to his cognitive and mental health issues. 2 more arsons and 3 manslaughter convictions were quashed, but the rest were upheld. And that brings the arsons down to 8 and the manslaughters down to 12, with no strong indication that he was responsible for any other deaths. So Sutcliffe remains Yorkshire's most prolific serial killer. It's not Tredget. Internet articles continue to claim that Tredget is the most prolific serial killer in Yorkshire, one you've never heard of, and indeed in England, but he's not even close. He's 65 or so now and still confined to hospital. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying these videos and you want to see more, please click the subscribe button and hit those notifications so that you don't miss any uploads. We appreciate you. Thanks.